Welcome back. The smoking gun memo emerges, an internal State Department cable from July of this year warning that the collapse of Kabul was imminent, urging the administration to speed up evacuation of American citizens. This as Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby says he does not know how many Americans remain in Afghanistan. He doesn't know. The State Department, meanwhile, is facing intense backlash for a report saying that it would bill citizens $2,000 for evacuation flights. That plan has been scrapped, but they wanted to charge Afghans $2,000 for a flight, but the illegal migrants coming in from the Northern Triangle, they can be flown anywhere they would like throughout the country for free. Joining me right now is retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. And Colonel, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for being here.
Good. Thanks for having me.
I've got to get your assessment on all of this. And let me just add to it. I've got notes right here that say that U.S. Black Hawk helicopters were captured by the Taliban. You've got horrified senators demanding an audit from the Department of Defense of exactly what weaponry was left on the ground that is now being inspected by the Taliban and the CCP and whoever else. How do you see this, Colonel?
Yeah, this is such an awful situation. And a lot of the blame is rightly falling on the Biden administration for how they've conducted this, because it exacerbated what was really a bad situation. But we need to be very clear on one thing here, that the only reason we're seeing this rapid destruction is not because of how Biden got out, but because of the core that was rotten of the edifice of the Afghan government and military forces that we have known for many, many years. You talk about the smoking gun. The smoking gun was really the Afghan papers that the Washington Post identified in 2019 that showed that both parties had been lying to the American public for decades about how bad this was, and yet nothing was ever done about it until Biden finally got out. And now that we have the bitter fruit of all of those lies right now, we have to deal with the mess we have.
So what should have been done? How would we have gotten out in a better way if most people believe we were there 20 years, it was time to leave? What kind of a plan would you have recommended? I mean, President Trump joined us this week and said that his plan was conditions-based. There were no conditions here, and they took the military out before civilians and partners that were helping us on the ground. Now they're stuck.
Yeah, that's part of the problem here, that the administration thought they would have up to 90 days to get this done. So they were prioritizing with what that happened. But Trump did give us a shot to doing this the right way, but it wasn't completely accurate with the no conditions, because it was, in fact, a time-based condition. He said that he was going to get out in 14 months after the deal was made in February 2020. And to answer your specific question there, how could it have done better? If the administration and the Pentagon, that's a crucial point, had taken those 14 months to begin a methodical, well-coordinated, and organized withdrawal that methodically moved through, so that by May 1st, we would have been completely out. A lot of this could have been avoided because the Taliban hadn't advanced that far yet by the time he started. Unfortunately, the president got distracted on any number of many other things, and they did not hold the Pentagon's feet to the fire. They took almost no action. And I was told by some people who have direct access on the ground to the Afghan government that some of our Pentagon leaders were telling the Afghan counterparts that, hey, don't worry, Biden's not going to get us out. We're going to keep staying. We're not going to follow that. And then they were shocked when Biden actually came through and said that. So the Pentagon bears some responsibility for how this happened, too, because they could have done it better.
Well, what is the significance of this billions and billions of dollars of weaponry that was left behind and now has been captured by the Taliban? These Black Hawk helicopters, sophisticated weaponry, American-made, now still in Afghanistan.
Well, there's a couple of issues. The first one is the most likely, at least in the near term, is that just like the Afghan government, who had billions of dollars of training and our best contractors to try to help them keep them afloat, they couldn't do it very well. The Taliban has none of those things. So they're, other than museum pieces, they won't be able to do anything with them. But the danger is that some of our adversaries may. I have no doubts that China and Russia are sending people over there, will very eagerly inspect a lot of these things. And that just underscores the danger of sending all of our stuff out there to people we're not sure how it's going to end up. And we have a long, bad track record of that happening.
Unbelievable. Dagan McDowell, jump in here.
Lieutenant Colonel Davis, the question that I've gotten over and over again just this morning, coming to work at 3 a.m. Eastern time, is how is it that UK and French rescues have happened and the American forces are essentially holed up just at the airport in Kabul? I'm talking about the British government dispatched 300 elite troops and others to bring out 6,000 UK nationals. The French president himself said his forces had rescued more than 200 people. Why isn't the U.S. doing the same thing?
Yeah, I got to say I was a little bit disappointed when I heard the Secretary of Defense say basically, well, our hands were tied and we can't do anything outside the gates, because look, there's some risk involved, and as is with the French and British, but I think that some risk is probably warranted in this case because we have the ability to go outside those gates and we can negotiate with the Taliban that they should stay out. But I think that we have the power to go and take care of our people in the event that they don't do that. So I really wish we'd have been a little bit more aggressive in taking care of our people.
What about this plan to have Afghans pay to fly out of there, $2,000 a flight? Meanwhile, we've got migrants coming across the border, getting on jets and on the taxpayer dime to wherever they want across the country.
You know, ironically, it's actually federal law that says that we have to charge for this. So they were just diverting to the playbook. And ordinarily, I guess it's not really, no one even pays attention. But when you have something this large and this catastrophic, then it needs to be readdressed. And they've apparently done that. So I at least give them kudos for that. Yeah, I can't even imagine being charged when your life is at risk.
But there's not the same standard with the migrants coming across the border into Texas.
Yeah, well, I think the difference is that, as I understand it, I mean, we're talking about U.S. assets physically flying people from one place to another. And at least on the border issue, it's people more like coming in and sneaking in, and not that we're flying them to, points in the United States on our dime. I don't think that's the case, at least in that regard.
No, they are. Yeah, no, that is what the senators are saying. They're putting them on flights and sending them across the country to wherever they want to go. Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel, it's good to talk with you this morning. Thanks very much for all that you've done for this great country. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis joining us.